Well, hello everybody and welcome. I'm Peter Goldstein, founder and chief synergy officer for WeDIDIt.Health, and I am so excited to be here with you today for our inaugural event for Passion Pods. So this is something that's been in the works for a while, and I am so excited that we're finally going live and getting the show on the road. And welcome, and I'm so glad you're watching us. So we have so many exciting things coming up. Our mission with We Did It is to empower grassroots ambassadors to be more effective in planting seeds and inspiring friends and loved ones to work with community groups to help make this a healthy, happy vegan world. And for that, our strategy, our belief is that we all miss lots of opportunities every day to plant seeds, to inspire somebody or a group to ask some questions, to get curious, to get more information, and finally to commit to a plant-based lifestyle that we all know is incredibly important for our health, for animal compassion and justice, and for the environment and climate healing. So that's our mission. We feel that this being vegan has been around for so long, and yet only a couple percent of the world population is vegan. So we really need some new strategies in addition to what so many wonderful people are already doing. We need to look at something new. So we're creating this laboratory to find new ways to inspire, to plant seeds, to create curiosity. So we have with us a very special guest, Stuart Waldner, who published a book, Escape the Meatrix. And so he's going to talk with us about meat and animal agriculture and how it's such an important part of healing the environment and the climate to stop the animal agriculture. So we'll get into that. And I just want to say, please join us in all our communities. We are launching a new platform, a new website, WeDIDIt.Health, where we have a community. So come to it, join it. It's free. Create an account and join us, have these conversations with us. And then a week from today at noon again, we will have another event with Stuart where Stuart is going to get into some of the strategies. So with that, let me welcome Stuart, and then we'll talk more about what our vision, mission, our process is going to be. And again, I'm so glad you're with us. Please feel free to use the comments, and we will address them in this conversation. So here's Stuart. Stuart Waldner, author of the Meatrix. Welcome.
Thank you, Peter. It's great to be here.
So we are so excited. This is our inaugural Passion Pod event, and really this is a pre-launch event. So we're doing a little bit of a chat here to talk about what's coming up, and then our launch event is next Saturday. And of course, your specialty is about the environment and animal agriculture. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and your work and your wonderful book.
Oh, thank you, Peter. Yes, so I live in Lexington, Kentucky, and I've lived in Kentucky my whole life. It's a beautiful state with amazing, wonderful people, but also some of the least healthy people in our nation. In 2021, we ranked 48th in healthy behaviors and 47th in health outcomes. So we have a lot of health issues in our state, and I think most of them are because of our lifestyles. People in Kentucky and other parts of the world are eating a diet that doesn't provide them the nutrients, that we need to function at our highest and best. And so at the age of 23, I became plant-based, and that was in 1985. And that was because for health reasons. I was enjoying great health at the time, but I didn't want to become a statistic, in my own state, and had read the science about the link between eating animal-based foods and heart disease. So that's when I gave up eating animal-based foods. And yeah, I've been plant-based for 18 of those years. I did a lot of traveling there for a while, Peter, and it was virtually impossible to eat a healthy plant-based diet while traveling in the United States, especially in the South. Even being vegetarian in the 80s was looked upon as like we were, from another planet or something. So, unfortunately, I had to become vegetarian for a number of years just to get enough nutrients. But now it's so different now. It's so much easier, and so much. It's never been easier or tastier to be plant-based than it is now. There's so many more options available. Um, so most of those years, Peter, I was just content to do my own thing, and let other people do theirs. I wasn't preaching about, we all need to be vegan or anything like that. I was just doing my thing. And then about 5 years ago, it became really clear to me in a new way, just some of the problems that we're facing and how the food that we're eating is contributing so much to environmental degradation and climate change. And so at that point, I decided I wanted to do something. I had to get off the sidelines, to contribute to this effort because we are facing some really important tipping points on the earth right now. And, scientists say that we have until the end of this decade to really address climate change and to reduce our emissions before we start hitting some of these tipping points where there's it's going to be very, very hard to reverse climate change and environmental degradation once we hit these tipping points. So that motivated me to write my book. And yeah, so I was researching my book in 2019, 2020, and 2021, and it was published in 2022. And I've been talking and spreading the message as much as I can since.
Wonderful. Yes, and I know I've seen you speak in Denver at the Reducitarian conference, and we've had you on some of our podcasts in the past, and I love what you're doing. And yeah, so what we're doing at this point with We Did It, we shifted just a little bit. We're not going to be doing the regular interviews and podcasts that so many people are doing. We're adding an extra layer to it. What our mission is to get those strategies. So you have so much wonderful information to share with us, and we want to hear all that. And we're looking at it from the perspective of how can we use this information as grassroots ambassadors? How do we use this information? What are the strategies? What are the conversation starters? How do we get somebody engaged? What in our conversations would be a cue for us to maybe present some facts? And so getting these strategies, and that's the kind of things we're looking to you for, is of course all your awesome information, and I know you've done a lot of research, but also in addition to that, add this other layer of how can we as ambassadors use the information you have to get other people curious, to open doors, to plant seeds, and share, of course, share your information and your book, and advocate that people look at all that. So that's essentially, and I'd love for you to share a little bit of that, but essentially we have our launch event next Saturday, and that's where we'll get into it, and we'll ask you to share with us some conversation starters, share with us your comebacks on questions and objections that people you've encountered with people. And perhaps next week we'll get a chance to role play, and because that's really our mission here, is not just to learn this information, but really to learn how to share this information. And yeah, so if you want to share some things about that, maybe share a success story you've had using your information and getting somebody to commit to changing their lifestyle so that they're not contributing to the environment degradation.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think that's a great vision. We need to have these conversations, and they're difficult conversations because people are very they want to eat the way they eat, and having these conversations can be difficult, and people can get very, very defensive about that. And, I don't know anybody who's been plant-based their whole life. Something happened on our journey that a light bulb went off and we made a connection. And so these conversations can do that. A documentary can do that. A study that comes out that the media, talks about can do it. Conversations with friends and family members. These are all ways that people can become more aware of the choices that we're making with our food on our plates and the impact that it's having. Unfortunately, it's not something that mainstream media is talking much about these days, and it's the elephant or the cow, pig, and chicken in the room that no one's talking about. There was a study that came out last year that only of all the articles that are talking about climate change, only 7% of them talk about animal agriculture as being a contributor to climate change. Only 7%. So there's it makes perfect sense as to why this is a disconnect for the American public when the media, isn't talking about it. So when we talk about being plant-based, we kind of all hear, it's good for your health, it's good for the animals, and it's good for the planet. And I'd always heard that, but I really didn't know until I started researching my book, how is it really helping the planet, and how is it beneficial to climate change and biodiversity loss and mass extinction rates and water use and land use and all of this. And that's something that I'm really passionate about because a lot of people don't know that. And we'll go into that a little bit more next Saturday. We'll talk about, I have some charts and graphs and we can look at, how resources are being used. But basically it's, animal agriculture is just a horrible return on investment. We're investing so much into it and getting so little back. Half of the arable land on the planet right now is dedicated to agriculture. And of that land, 75% of it is dedicated to animal agriculture. But animal agriculture provides 18% of our calories and only a third of our protein needs. So we're dedicating a tremendous amount of resources and land to food that we get just a little bit in return. And if this was any other business, it would be a losing proposition and investors would walk away, right? Because, you're losing so much, investment into it. So we can talk all about that next week. As far as, I had an interesting conversation one time when I was doing a business trip. You asked Peter about conversations that I have had. And this is while I was researching my book, and I was on a business trip in Hawaii, and I was walking down the beach just down from our hotel, and I saw a young couple sitting under a canopy, and it looked like they were doing homework or something. And I stopped and talked to them, and they were students at the University of Hawaii. And what I hadn't realized is part of the beach had been fenced off, and they were there to document a monk seal that was there who had just had a baby. And so every day I would go back there around sunset to watch this mama monk seal. They called her honey girl or something like that. I'm not sure. It's in my book. And her little baby. And it was so sweet and so amazing. And, so these two students were documenting about the interactions and everything. And they had actually, fenced off the beach so tourists and people like me couldn't get too close to them. And so I started having a conversation with one of the students who was clearly very passionate about the environment and about the state of our oceans. And we just had a really meaningful conversation about fishing. And because these monk seals were endangered, or highly endangered, because of discarded fish nets, and they get trapped in the fish nets and then they die. And she was saying that they have programs where they're educating fishermen not to just discard those nets because of the damage that they're doing. And I said, well, why do you think the fishermen are fishing? So we had a conversation about, if we didn't eat fish, and these nets wouldn't be there. And so we had just a conversation about, the fact that we're overfishing the oceans and we're disrupting natural habitat. And I could see she was starting to really, connect with what I was saying. And then at the end of the conversation, I encouraged her to consider going plant-based. Not only would it be better for her, but it'd be better for the monk seals and, all the other aquatic life. So that was one opportunity that I had. And, I was nervous about it, talking to her, because it's kind of a personal choice in a way, what someone's eating. But we're at a point now where it's not just a personal choice. It's a choice that is affecting everybody, and it's affecting all life on the planet. So I would say, years ago, people could say, well, eating meat is a personal choice for me. And maybe that would have been true then, but now we're at a point where it's beyond what's sustainable, and we need to address that. And so that was one conversation I had that was really inspiring to me, because I could see light bulbs going off in the students' mind, and the questions they were asking and stuff. So.
Wonderful. Well, I think I'm setting myself up for some wonderful opportunities here. I'm getting ready to volunteer. I live very close to a national park, and I'm going to volunteer with the national park. And my secret mission is going to be to see what I can do, how I can plant seeds, how I can create some conversations, because and Stuart, I'd like to ask you, maybe you have an idea and have some facts about this, but, so we have so many environmental groups, so many groups that are so concerned for the environment, and yet don't have any clue that, and I'm going to guess 2/3 of our environmental and climate issues are linked to animal agriculture. What would you say? Is that pretty close? About 2/3 of the issues, of including the lack of being able to heal by using so much land for growing animal food, and
Well, definitely. I don't know about a specific percentage, and we can talk about this next week, because you hear a lot of different people say, oh, animal agriculture is responsible for this percentage or this percentage or that. And really, it really varies depending on what the study is measuring. And so we can talk about that in more detail. But yeah, I think there is a real disconnect. There are a lot of people who want to protect the environment, but they're missing a huge piece of the puzzle when they ignore animal agriculture, because it is one of the main drivers for biodiversity loss. And especially in tropical areas where the Amazon rainforest is being burned and slashed and cut down to graze cattle or to grow crops for cattle. And, that is a rich biodiverse area, and it also is storing a lot of carbon. And, we are at a point where we cannot afford to be converting any other land. We need to keep biodiversity intact, because we depend on it. We don't think we do, because so many of us live in cities, and but the biodiversity of the planet sustains our life, and without it, if it collapses, we go with it. So, and I know in Australia too, I think there's like 2,000 hectares a day of land being burned and converted to growing crops for cattle, and so we really need to put an end to this conversion of land for animal agriculture. And if we just grew crops for human consumption, we could give a lot of land back to nature. And that would be very, very key to helping us mitigate the worst case scenarios of climate change. I mean, there are studies that show that, if we eliminated all fossil fuels today, but maintain business as usual for food production, we would be doomed to fail at our climate goals. But the opposite is true. If we maintained all of the transportation and energy production at its current level, and all became plant-based, we would reverse climate change. So this is how powerful it is. And it's really important that people know this, especially people who are concerned about the environment. So I hope you have some great conversations, Peter, in the national park, and hopefully people will be open to hearing what you want to share with them.
Yes, and thank you, Stuart. This is such a beautiful example of what we want to create at WeDIDIt.Health, is to be able to bring in professionals, have these kinds of conversations, and on all topics. The environment, we just happen to be starting on the environment,
Yeah.
and then next after that we have something about yoga and helping yoga studios become vegan, because they're all committed to ahimsa, which is do no harm, yet 1% of the world population is vegan. So we'll get into all these conversations
Right.
as we keep building the Passion Pod concept here. But right now, Stuart, I love what you said, something about biodiversity, and this is really where I think that if we can get to these kinds of things, then we really can be successful with this initiative. So I never thought about it. Well, and this is what I'm looking for, is ideas. So when I go and have conversations with the people who work or volunteer or visit the national park, right? And maybe the air, maybe it's the climate that's of concern to them, but biodiversity must be a concern to them. I mean, here it is,
Right.
they're protecting the land, protecting nature, protecting the biodiversity, and I guess the conversation starters, I have to have some magic questions that I can ask that would get them thinking and get them to really look at the fact that we are destroying biodiversity, and what do we need to do, and how then taking the full conversation to animal agriculture, because that's really the culprit. But to be able to have these conversations, to understand these strategies, to have professionals like yourself lead us to figuring these out, to have a place where we can role play and practice and get good at it, so we can be very comfortable, rather than saying, oh no, I'm a vegan, I need to go hide somewhere. We can confidently start a conversation and attract their attention and not push them away. So biodiversity, a great topic. I look forward to learning more about that, and then getting some facts to bring into the conversation, and having easy ways to share these facts. So well-referenced facts. This authority is saying that we're losing this many species all the time, or however often. So we look to you to help us identify these things, and then to be out there spreading the seeds, planting these seeds, and getting people curious and understanding.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think, people, I think more now than ever, people are aware that something's happening with the climate, whether they want to attribute it to anything that humans are doing. I think most people are seeing the repercussions of climate change. It's really coming close to home. And so I think that's a great conversation starter. If someone mentions something about the weather and climate change or anything like that, that would be a really nice doorway that you could, an opportunity where you could plant a seed and say something like, do you know what one of the main drivers of climate change is? And they may say, you could ask them that, or you could say, what do you think are the main drivers of climate change? And they're most likely going to say energy production and transportation. They're not likely to mention agriculture. So that would be a doorway. If they say, climate change, we need to decarbonize the energy production, and we need to decarbonize transportation. Then you could say, yeah, we do. We need to do both of those things. But there's something else that we also need to address. And in fact, if we don't address it, we're doomed to fail. And that is the food that we're growing, how we're growing food. you don't have to say, right off the bat, animal agriculture, which could, or veganism or anything. You just say, we need to address, we need to decarbonize the global food production system, and then that is maybe less threatening to them. They may agree, yeah, we do. We need to lower the carbon emissions associated with food. And then you could say, well, do you know what the main driver of emissions in agriculture are? What are those drivers? Well, then you can have a conversation about animal-based foods having a much higher carbon footprint. And we can talk about, strategies and conversation starters, but that's just something, off the top of my head that I was thinking about when you were talking about, being out and talking to people who are, wanting to preserve nature.
Yeah, absolutely. And then curate. One of our strategies is about curating resources and information so that we have one very easy place for all ambassadors to be able to find the information. So and we need to collect this and evidence-based information, so scientific, real information, not just somebody's opinion, but really scientific information. And I know I haven't saved it. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know I've seen things like eating. It takes 2,500 gallons of water to get a pound of hamburger, or eating a hamburger is the equivalent to flying 250 miles in an airplane, or so these are the attention grabbing what facts that can get somebody's attention and help them open the doors. And as a group, as a community, as a pod with leaders and ourselves and our experiences, I'm looking for us all to come together to build this resource library of facts and well-documented facts that we can all use, because these facts, I know most people don't understand them. I know most people would be surprised. I've seen so many people concerned about water shortage, and there's a whole area in Colorado that I know where it's a lot of farming, and of course it's animal farming too, and they're very proud of their farming, and they're all worried about water shortage.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Stop animal farming. You're concerned about water shortage. So, yeah, to be able to show the facts, because the facts really have a place in this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. We have to have the facts to support it. Otherwise, it's just an opinion. And that's why in my book, I have over 400 citations with, peer-reviewed science supporting everything that I'm saying, because otherwise it's just my opinion and it can be easily dismissed. So we have to back up what we're saying with some sort of reputable science-based, facts. And memorizing just a few numbers here and there can go a long way when these opportunities come up. You can just, like you said, like for instance, someone who's eating plant-based saves 1,100 gallons of water a day. And the list goes on. And we will talk about this next week in more detail. I hope everyone can tune in for that. But definitely we need the facts. And we want to take opportunities. These opportunities happen almost daily, whether it's online or in person. And if we have this information, then we can take advantage of those opportunities. And I know it'll be scary at the beginning for all of us, to take this step. But the more we do it, the easier it gets and the more comfortable we get. The saying is, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? You practice, practice, practice. Practice is the key. So I know it can be really scary at first to talk to someone about these things, but the more we do it and the more information we have at our disposal, the easier it gets.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so that's really our mission. Our mission, what we're doing, what we're wanting to do is we want to involve everybody. This is a laboratory because nobody has these answers. We're creating a laboratory where we can all pitch in and find those conversations, find ways to mentor, inspire and mentor friends, loved ones, community groups, because without a doubt, what we're doing here is of huge benefit to everybody, and everybody and everybody. So everybody, including every animal. So
Yeah.
this is really important, and to save the climate, save humanity on Earth, and cut the suffering, animal suffering, including human animal suffering,
Hmm.
because all the leading doctors in the whole food plant-based movement, they say that we could save 80% of our healthcare costs and all that pain and suffering if we plant-based. So
Yeah.
it's a huge, powerful truth that we're trying to share, and
Hmm.
so there has to be a way for us to get through to more and more people with love, with kindness, with compassion.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree. It needs to be done in a loving way, um, and in a compassionate way, because I was a meat eater. I spent the first 23 years of my life eating meat, thinking that I needed to, because that's what I had been taught from my parents. And so, we can't, unless you've been 100% plant-based your whole life, you can't point a finger and blame and shame someone else, because we were all born into, if you're living in the United States and in the Western world, we were born into what I call the Meatrix. And this is where we have been indoctrinated into thinking that it's natural, necessary, and nutritious to eat animal-based foods. And the science that I'm sharing on my book says that that's not true, but that's what we've been conditioned to believe. And the meat and dairy industries reinforce that throughout our lifetime with advertisements like got milk and beef, it's what's for dinner, and all these catchy slogans that just reinforces this message that we have to have these products when we don't. And so, it's something that we have to come approach in a very compassionate way. I agree, but we do need to have these conversations because time is running out. We're at a 5 alarm fire right now on our planet, and anyone who's been reading about climate change probably knows that. I mean, 2023 was the hottest year on the planet ever, and I just read that January of 2024 was the hottest January ever. So we're going to continue to see worse impacts of climate change. I was reading about the massive flooding that happened in San Diego just a few weeks ago in January, and of course another uh, 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 what do they call them? Atmospheric river or something like that came through California this past week. But in San Diego, when I was in the one that came through in January, the article I read said it was a once in a thousand year storm. And Peter, a few years ago, the media was calling these storms once in 100 years. Do you remember that?
That's
Yeah.
right.
And they stopped doing that because
Not,
every year we were having a once in 100 year storm. And
wow.
now they're saying it's once in a thousand year, because the storms are getting more and more powerful as the earth heats up. We have more moisture in the air, and so these storms are becoming much more powerful. So yeah, it is happening, and we have hope because we know that reducing the amount of animal-based foods that we're eating, can have a dramatic impact, and it can have a really immediate impact. And a lot of the things that are being talked about with lab-grown meat, I mean, these are decades away if they ever materialize at all. But there's something we can do right now immediately that can have an impact, and that is to give up animal-based foods. And we'll so
Beautiful. Hey, you know what? I'd like to catch up with some comments that we have
cool.
here. Uh, First, Kathleen Koch says that Dr. Stephen Esser has been plant-based his whole life, and I know that I
Oh,
keep hearing of other people. There are people who are fortunate enough to have been born to parents who
uh-huh.
got it and who raised them plant-based, and I would really love to meet these folks. And actually,
Me
I
too.
believe I heard that somebody was looking at doing a study of people who've been plant-based since birth.
That would be
And
a great study.
I don't remember who was, yes, but a medical study.
Mhm.
Then we have Linda Vestal. We need this is needed because there's so much pushback and hostility when this information is discussed. So,
Mhm.
Linda, thank you for that comment. And really, part of our work is to learn and practice how to connect with the people, create those relationships, so that we don't get the hostility. Uh,
Mhm.
because certainly, when somebody's hostile, they're not going to listen, and our stress level rises, and really it would be incredibly rare, if ever, that a positive outcome could come when there's a level of hostility in the conversation. um,
Mhm.
Let me see who else we have here. Do you want to comment on any of that?
Well,
um,
yeah, we will encounter, sometimes hostile people, but just know that that's what's called cognitive dissonance, and I talk about this in my book. Basically, it boils down to the the internal conflict that happens from knowing better but not doing better. So people might know that it's unhealthy to consume all these animal-based foods, yet they do it. And so most of the time, cognitive dissonance just happens in the background. It's like the operating system on your computer. You never think about it until you get a virus, right? Your operating system's there, and you never even give it a second thought until something happens. And for people who are eating an unhealthy diet full of animal-based foods, they know they're doing it, but they're not conscious of it. And our talking to them about it brings it up into their consciousness. And then there's this dissonance because they know better, but they're not doing better. So just know, if you get a lot of pushback from people, just know it's not you. It's not because of you. Um, I'll share studies in my book that were done that show just by being in close proximity to someone who doesn't eat animal-based foods, an omnivore, gets very defensive. Just by being in the room, if they know that you don't eat animal-based foods, it just agitates them. And again, this is cognitive dissonance. So we don't even have to say anything sometimes. We just be in the room, and people are have their defenses up. So it's really sad that that's true, but just know that when we're going into these conversations, that this could be happening. And if they are unpleasant to you, just know that it's not anything to do with you. It has to do with them. Um,
so here's a comment from Linda. She's looking forward to reading your book.
oh, good. Thanks, Linda.
Linda's a wonderful friend, and she's an amazing advocate herself. And we've had her as a guest numerous times. And if you'd like to see
Right.
more about Linda's work, you can find her on our YouTube channel. And certainly she's in Sacramento doing amazing things in community organizing there, and
Nice.
teaching, health coach, and animal rights advocate, and she's just doing it all. She's an amazing woman.
Hmm.
So
Thank
yes,
you, Linda, for your work and for your comment.
yes, thank you, Linda. We had a question about what time is our event next week, and it's at
Mhm.
the same time as this one, so that would be 12 o'clock noon on Saturday. That's Eastern time, New York time, 12
Mhm.
o'clock. um, What else do we have here? Linda says, thank you, Peter. Linda, my pleasure, our pleasure. I love you, and I love everything you're doing. Um, let's see. Um, so I have a comment here somewhere else. It's also says, please address psychology of communication
Hmm.
and that's certainly, thank you for that, Rohit. And certainly, yes, that's one of the things we did that health is we're bringing to the table. We have so many amazing people doing so much amazing work in all three sectors of the vegan world. What we're doing, one of our major initiatives is to bring psychology, interpersonal communications, relationship building, all kinds of psychology of eating, social psychology, uh, and I see another comment. I'm sorry, I was distracted. Yes, so yeah, the psychology so that we can understand it. In fact, we have a psychologist currently working on a paper for us that we look forward to sharing, and that is to break down the different states of psychology, I guess, of pre-vegans. So anything from ignorance, meaning not knowing anything, and that's, I mean that word in a totally loving way. I know it has connotations, ignorance and willful ignorant, willfully ignoring. So we have people, and that's the cognitive dissonance, to where we have friends and loved ones. Somebody may say, I'm on my way. I stopped drinking milk. So how do we then help them along, give them information? Well, that's great, you stopped drinking milk. Now here's something else you might want to look at. So identifying these different stages to where somebody's committed, because really our mission, our role is then to become mentors for the people in our lives, for the community organizations that we can impact and inspire. So psychology is really important, and then we're doing all this with passion pods. So if you're anybody not familiar with this concept, and I appreciate everybody who's watching live, and I know historically we've had a lot more people watching the recordings on YouTube, and so if you're watching our YouTube recording, that is our mission, to then drill down, to plant seeds and to do that with passion pods. So to bring together people who are passionate about the same topic, so topic by topic. So our groups are organized not geographically but by topic. And we're calling our groups passion pods so that we can have these conversations. So that if the conversation may be about community organizations like the national park. So if we have an opportunity to connect with a community organization and start to gets people curious about the real impact of animal agriculture, so that we can lead them along. But so we have our community, our group, so we can celebrate our successes, so we can get answers for our challenges. So if I have a situation where I think I might be able to get through to somebody, but somehow I'm stuck, I can come back to the Passion Pod and perhaps a mastermind meeting with the Passion Pod, where I can have some friends and some of my friends help me figure out how to get past that roadblock. So that's our work. So yes, please join us, and we do all that at WeDIDIt.Health. So where you can join a free community and create a very simple profile, and then see our schedule there. We're just we'll be launching lots of meetings. I mean, with our vision for eventually having 200 passion pods, with that vision, we're going to have events all the time. So meetings, support groups, mastermind groups, informational meetings. So definitely, please join the community at WeDIDIt.Health. And I think that's probably, I mentioned everything I needed to. So any other questions? And Stuart, please, what else would you like to add?
Well, appreciate everyone being here, and thanks for the comments. And yeah, we will take a little bit of a more deeper dive next Saturday about the low carbon diet. So we've all heard of the low carb diet, right? Where we restrict carbohydrates, and carbohydrates have been blamed for all of our problems, right? So, but most people haven't heard of the low carbon diet. And what this is eating for our health and for the health of the planet and for sustainability. And so that's what we're going to talk about next week, and hope everyone will come back and share in that, because like you said, Peter, we want to support each other, help each other on this journey. I'm doing this with the full support of my family, and I have a lot of plant-based friends, and a lot of people maybe don't have that kind of support in their household even, or in their community. So we can find that support through WeDIDIt.Health and these passion pods. So we can celebrate our successes, we can support each other, we can give each other ideas and tips, and we can report back, hey, I had this conversation, here's how it went. We can kind of harness what we've learned individually, and we can share that in these groups, and we can all take that and out into our relationships and communication. So I see it as a beautiful space to come together and learn and grow. I guess I'm considered an expert because I wrote a book, but I'm learning new stuff all the time, every day. There's more and more studies that come out, and I think it's a lifetime of learning about this. And so not any one person has all the answers, and that's why when we come together, we can grow together, because Peter, things that I don't know, and Linda knows things that I'm not aware of, I'm sure. And so I think it's going to be a really, really powerful space. And thank you for providing it and making it happen. I know it's a labor of love and a service. And I can't imagine the number of hours that have gone in behind just creating this event today and next week's, let alone, everything else that you're working on. So thank you for that. And really appreciate this opportunity.
Well, and thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, we look for professional leaders in our passion pod like yourself to lead these conversations, to add to the expertise, to the information, and certainly everybody has some level of expertise, and everybody has different experiences and different things to bring to the table. So here, Linda, thumbs up for this program to encourage YouTube to suggest it to other viewers. I'm not sure I understand YouTube. So thumbs up to this program to encourage. So is YouTube suggesting something to other viewers? That would be wonderful. I didn't know YouTube would do that, but that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So, but whether YouTube does or not, I'd really love to say we need everybody here to encourage their friends, their plant-based friends, to come and join us, and bring your friends to a meeting next week, and the future meetings too. As we're getting ready one by one, we're going to launch other topics, and like I said before, the next topic we're going to take on will be about yoga studios and yoga practitioners. So I know a lot of people who are plant-based are practicing yoga, and yet probably most yoga studios push back on veganism, and which is really what Ahimsa is about. Oh, the more thumbs up a program gets, will get YouTube to suggest. Okay, so thank you, Linda. So Linda's saying that please give a thumbs up to the recording on YouTube. I see what you're saying, Linda. Thank you. Yes,
Yeah,
please do. Yeah, yes, give it a thumbs up, and come next Saturday, and please spread the word and invite everybody else who's plant-based, who's in your network. Please spread the word about our event next Saturday.
Or even people who are just plant curious, they don't have to be plant-based or vegan. We can make space for people wherever they are on their journey, right? And we can hopefully, help anyone to make these connections between the choices for the food on their plates and how it's impacting the entire planet. So yeah, definitely we want all as many plant-based people, vegans to come, even vegetarians, anyone who's just plant curious to come and learn and share and grow together. So
Absolutely. So let me just add that the passion pod concept, so we're not doing one event here and one event there. It's a passion pod is an organic growing ecosystem. I've heard some people call it that. So it's something that it's an ongoing conversation, an ongoing resource, something that's someplace that's focused on one specific topic, and lots of different passion pods on their own
Mm-hmm.
topics, focused on one topic. And of course, part of the concept here is that when we get together, when we're excited about a topic about something, we're excited. We help each other get more excited, and that kind of energy does create change. So
Mm-hmm.
so so together within these passion pods, we're looking to raise the energy, raise the excitement, and plant more seeds and help each other thrive.
Yeah, we can support each other, and we can go out and being more confident than we were, coming in. So we want everyone to leave these meetings feeling more empowered, like they have more agency, and that they have the knowledge and the information that they can then, with confidence, start a conversation when the opening presents itself.
Absolutely. Well, with that, we're pretty much out of time. If anybody has any other questions, we're happy to answer them. And uh, if not, we're just really excited for next week. And please spread the word. And I look forward to seeing everybody at noon Eastern time next week.
Yeah.
And starting and next week again, we will do this with StreamYard, but looking forward beyond that, the ongoing regular meetings that each Passion Pod will have will be done with Zoom.
Mm.
And that way with Zoom, everybody gets a chance to be on camera. And if we have enough, when we get to the point that we have enough people and we want to have different conversations, we can break out into breakout rooms and do role plays and have mastermind roundtables where people can present challenges and we can give each other suggestions for how to deal with those challenges.
Nice. All right.
All right, Stuart, thank you so much.
My pleasure, Peter.
Every
Thank you.
yes, thank you, and namaste, vegan.
All right.
So thanks everybody, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.